Hello there. Welcome to our Friday, November 20th daily briefing. These are heard in the 1, 5, and 8 p.m. hours on KLAM and KCDV radio and uploaded to youtube.com/Cordova TV, the Cordova TV YouTube channel. I'm J.R. Lewis, glad to be your host. We're visiting with City Manager Howarth today about the developments of the week and how they sort of look from her position as our city manager. Checking the dashboard, if you haven't looked at it in a while, Cordova resident cumulative cases to date. The total number of residents that have caught the virus that we know of is 29. 4 of those cases are active. 24 of them are recovered. There's the one fatality that happened earlier this week. Not really from COVID exactly, but a person with it that passed away while they had it. And one hospitalization. On the non-resident side of things, there have been 14 non-residents total since the beginning of the pandemic. None of those are active. All 14 are presumed recovered. So, again, not much change in the dashboard from previous days, so we'll kind of do a quick summary of a number of different topics with the city manager here today. Oh, and I almost forgot. The cell connection that we had wasn't as good as usual. There's some parts of it that may be a little tougher to understand than typically. We apologize for that, but we think you'll be able to hear the bulk of it okay. So here we go. Helen, nice to be speaking with you again here. And we're going to be getting to cash card distribution as our grand finale, but let's talk a little bit about the dashboard. I mean, you've seen some hospitalizations. We have a fatality. What has kind of been the city's reaction from your perspective to seeing some of those things appear?
Well, obviously, we're dismayed that any of our citizens are having to struggle with COVID, either by being hospitalized or by having to deal with the death of a family member. But I would say as a community, we've been bracing ourselves for that. We've been preparing ourselves for that and knew that, with the duration and the length of time that this disease has been going on, that we could expect that there would be hospitalizations and there would be deaths. I think the fact that, this late in the game, we're seeing our first of both, I think is a real testament to how strongly the community is following the health mandates and really trying hard to keep this from spreading. We're still in that state. We still need to be cautious. We still need to be careful, and we still need to pay attention to our individual behaviors. But the hospitalization and the death don't change any of that. It just heightens our awareness that could happen, and it now has happened. But we are prepared. The hospital is prepared to deal with that. And hopefully we won't have a lot more of those types of cases, because what the hospital is not prepared to deal with is acute care patients who need ICU beds. And those individuals would have to be flown to Anchorage or Fairbanks or other acute care hospitals, which are struggling with bed count. So we're just going to have to be vigilant as a community and really be careful.
Yeah, well, and it's worth pointing out, again, too, for context, that the fatality, while any fatality in Cordova hits us hard, that was somebody that was going into the hospital for something else, and they happened to discover COVID after the fact.
Right.
But
and in fairness, it was someone who was entering the hospital for end-of-life care. So they were already, struggling physically, and COVID just exacerbated the situation. So,
sure.
Yeah.
How about the fact that we had a case at the schools? How's that progressing?
Well, it was a case that didn't initiate in the schools, which is a good thing. It was in the community. This individual, young student, it was caught quickly. The classroom was isolated quickly, and it isn't impacting the entire school district. That's the really good news that we should all understand, is that yes, there's a classroom that is now in quarantine as a precaution, best practice, but it isn't the whole school. It isn't everything being shut down. And I have to commend both the school district and the hospital for really containing that and understanding it and taking care of it.
So it seems like then the protocols that were established worked and are working?
Yes, absolutely. I would say as far along as we are in this disease, we have learned so much as a community and as healthcare professionals that I don't want to say it's no-brainer, but we know what to do. We know what to do. We know how to handle it. We have systems in place. And if this had happened 6 months ago, it might have been a different story, but I think our community is really well prepared for just about anything. So
good. Well, and another biggie is travel, and that was something that was addressed in the new guidance from the governor's office.
Right.
How is the city digesting that information, and are there any key recommendations coming out of that?
Well, I think the good news is that basically those recommendations are all about travelers who are going into. So what they've done is put up another cautionary barrier, if you will, for travelers who might be coming into our community. Once you get into our community, I think everything is very clear about how to handle it. So now the governor is giving us another level of protection, if you will, by saying if you are going to travel into a community off the road system, you have to get tested before you arrive. You need to strictly quarantine once you get there, so you're not infecting anyone. Then after 5 days, if you're still in town, you need to test again just to make sure. So I think it's just an extra level of protection for our community, and it doesn't really change much of anything other than traveler behavior into our community.
All right. Well, then let's get to the good stuff here. The cash cards are what, in the mail or headed there, or what's the status?
They're headed there today, so I'm going to guess that most of the cards will be dropping in people's mailboxes tomorrow, Saturday, and or Monday. But we have been really working to burning the midnight oil, if you will, preparing loading cards, getting the packets prepared for everyone who applied. And we're really excited to see how they're spent. But I just encourage people to have a little bit of patience. We're getting them out, and hopefully they'll be in folks' mailboxes tomorrow.
And does it feel like business response? You got a fair number of businesses who are going to be able to receive them?
Yeah, almost 100 businesses. Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
Good. Well, $1 million injected into the economy certainly can't hurt with...
Yeah. We're looking forward to seeing how people spend it. We were having conversations as we were stuffing envelopes this morning. It's like, what are you going to buy? And, everyone had their own take on it. Some people were going to, kind of whittle down some local bills that they had. Some people were going to buy something special. Some people were going to visit stores that they didn't even know existed. They were on the list and to see what they're all about. So I look forward to seeing how people spend their cash cards.
Good. Well, we'll eagerly watch that with you. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that's good. I wish everyone a good weekend and a safe Thanksgiving holiday. I know that's coming up next week. And, the year is almost over. So be well and be safe and enjoy the weather.
Thanks again to the city manager for the visit here on this Friday, November 20th. Your daily briefing on KLAM and KCDV in the 1, 5, and 8 p.m. hours on the radio, youtube.com/Cordova TV. If you want to share the information or listen to it again at some point, it's there in our archive. Keep in mind, COVID-19.cityofcordova.net online to get the latest information on the city's pandemic response. 424-INFO if you want to call the city. 424-WELL if you'd like to hear the recording from the village of Eac. And, again, we will continue to provide you this briefing for as long as they seem necessary while we all try to continue to figure this out. And hopefully have some money to spend here pretty soon coming out of our post office box. Again, have a great, safe weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We'll get back to regular programming on the Calamity Eagle.